WrestleMania and Raw after WrestleMania Fallout. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers. Talk about some wrestling.
Yeah, as always, WrestleMania, the end of stories, beginning of stories, continuations, I guess, of some stories this year. So what do we expect after this? Obviously, Raw after Mania is arguably the biggest one of the year. So what do we think going forward? Some big stuff happened on Raw this week.
New season of wrestling. That's basically what happens after WrestleMania. So it's really nice. We got some good stuff to talk about here. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the bell. Let's get into this stuff. But let's start with the big one. Not even what happened at WrestleMania, but what happened at the Raw after WrestleMania. Braun Breaker has now joined Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman to seemingly be forming a new faction. A lot of people are calling it Evolution 2.0. A lot of people are calling it a new dangerous alliance because of Paul Heyman's involvement. But the real question is, if it is a faction, who's going to be joining them?
Yeah, that is the big question. And this is the biggest, I guess, event for biggest, I should say, following biggest thing that happened at Mania was Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins. And then you follow it up with a Raw that's arguably better than WrestleMania. And the biggest thing is Braun Breaker with that. And you're like, holy hell, this is going to be good. So to answer your question, who's going to join? Well, you look at like Evolution, right? You had the veteran, you had the old wise man, then you had two young guys. Well, you got one young guy, kind of takes the muscle out for the Batista, right? So you're kind of looking at like a Randy Orton type guy. The person that I'm going to pick isn't even on Raw. He's on SmackDown. I'm going Carmelo Hayes on this one. Carmelo Hayes is young. I think he's got that cocky, arrogant attitude that could really play off really well. I think Carmelo needs a much needed kind of push. The draft is always coming up here a little bit after Mania. You could just easily swap that. And that's when you could really make that selection.
Yeah, if Seth is your Triple H, if Braun's your Batista, and then Paul's your Rick, I do think you need that Randy figure. And to me, the guy who fits it perfectly is Austin Theory. That's the easy answer. I think that we're all done with A-Town Down Under. They haven't been relevant in a long time. We tried to give Austin Theory this big old push a few years ago when he beat John Cena at WrestleMania, but it didn't work out. How's it going to work out? You involve yourself with a group that's revolving around Paul Heyman and a guy like Seth Rollins. He would shoot you to the moon. I think he'd fit in perfectly. And if we are going to call it some sort of like evolution or revolution or whatever what they think they're going to call it, like this is a Randy Orton-esque guy. Like if you want to do the one-for-one copy and paste. So I think it just speaks for itself, and I hope they do it.
Yeah, the only thing I would say with him is I think that I don't know. He's always been teasing the face thing, but of course that's been happening for I don't even know how long at this point, right? He's genuinely like a really, really, really good guy. So is Braun. I know Braun's great. So I wonder if he can really kind of tap into that heel side of things. Maybe also if you're going for like a Seth Rollins being the leader, like a Nathan Frazier from NXT, he can maybe come up. They obviously have the history and Seth training him, things like that. So something like that, you got to get a young guy in here, somebody who you think is going to be that next big guy.
Yeah, I would love for it to be an NXT call-up as well. I mean, you could literally, Ego. If you really want to bring up somebody like Ego fits the Ego role that Randy Orton had at the time. I mean, it's been very documented since kind of what he was doing in his life during that time. So an NXT call-up would be just fine as well. But let's move on to a part of WrestleMania that didn't happen that everybody thought would happen. And then it didn't happen at the Raw after WrestleMania. Good old Dwayne. What is he doing lately? Well, he's showing up to Pat McAfee shows and nowhere else. He's talking about how he only got involved in Elimination Chamber because ticket sales were down. And the John Cena heel turn was just that. It was just a part of the ticket sales selling. Man, this isn't a good look for Dwayne Johnson. It really, really isn't. He didn't show up. He's saying that the final boss's job is over after the John Cena heel turn, even though the whole thing was he sold his soul to The Rock. Has Dwayne Johnson, has The Rock kind of ruined John Cena's heel turn?
I'm going to say no. I'm able to kind of, I guess, separate the two. I wouldn't say ruined. I would say, God, what's another word? It doesn't hit the same, I guess. Like I would like it if the things were separate. I think all the work that John is doing is really good on his own. I think John didn't need the Dwayne side of things, especially if there's really going to be no follow-up. Now, he hinted at in that interview, like Cody Rhodes multiple times, further down the line. So maybe that's what you originally get. but it taints it for sure. It definitely, like, John's doing such good work. You didn't need it. There were obviously the reports that Cena was going to do it at Mania. Well, if Mania played out the way that it did, and you look at it and you're like, I just would have rather had that, because everybody's sitting there waiting for The Rock, and you're waiting for what's going to happen. He sold his soul, and it's like, well, you're not really going to get that. And it seems like we're not going to get any answers anytime soon. So I would rather Cena have just done that on his own and then done everything else perfectly after that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's ruined the heel turn, but it definitely added a layer of story to it that's kind of holding it back and doesn't seem to be ever getting a conclusion. Like, the headlines were he sold his soul to The Rock, and then you're just not going to show up. Like, the main question that everybody's been waiting for Cena to talk about every single week since the heel turn is, what about the Rock part? What about the Rock part? And the first time they brought it up was the Friday night before WrestleMania. And it was like, there we go. We're going to crescendo at WrestleMania. Here we go. And now we find out that The Rock just doesn't have a plan. He just wants to sit back, relax, and watch the heel turn. It just felt like he needed to be a part of this moment for ego reasons. I don't know, just to be a part of it, to say he was. It's unnecessary, and it's not a good look for him to say something like everything that he said on the Pat McAfee show. I'm trying to stay positive and love The Rock because he is The Rock at the end of the day, but it just feels at this point that, like, we got to move on from including him in all these stories.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have something, I think, for The Rock and Cena, honestly, if you had, even if it could have been a couple minute pre-recorded thing about, like, hey, the final boss's job is done here before Mania, and then, like, you can carry the keys, John, like, you can now drive this ship, sort of thing. So then that way you're not having everybody wait on that, because that was the big question. That, I mean, it's night 2 main event. You're like, oh, well, The Rock's got to show up. You got to get some answers. You got to get some reasoning. And obviously that's not going to happen. And for everybody that says to wait, well, it sounds like The Rock is just not going to be around anytime soon.
Nope.
So it sounds like you're not really going to get any answers there. So something like that, even if a small interaction between the two, that would have been fine. I think that would have just cleared the air for everybody, and you could really separate the two things.
Yeah, he just needs to stay out of the storylines, at least the top storylines, for the foreseeable future. If you ain't going to commit and you're not going to get the time and be at the big ones, then you shouldn't be a part of it. The big ones are the bare minimum. Like, I'm not asking you to show up on Monday night every week. I'm asking you to show up at WrestleMania in Las Vegas, bro. Like, step up to the plate. Someone who has been stepping up to the plate recently and everybody's loving it, Karrion Kross. This dude cut a scathing promo on, I believe, Raw Recap is what it was. It was incredible. And on Monday Night Raw, when he popped up in the AJ Styles segment, pop of the night almost in the crowd, even though it was a backstage segment. I think it's time. It's time to push Karrion Kross.
Yeah, I think there's been a small minority of fans that have been wanting this for a long time. But then as he gets more exposure, you're like, okay, yeah, this guy is the real deal. He is really good. He doesn't have any of that weird stuff clouding him with, like, AOP and Paul Ellering. Like, he's just on his own, which is fantastic. He's really good in the ring if you've seen him in past promotions or even in NXT. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic character development, that's really his strong suit, is the character side of things, which we love. That's awesome. It's going to be really nice to see him be in a feud with AJ Styles coming up. Hopefully he gets that win, because I think he needs that. If you're going to give the win to Logan Paul over AJ, you kind of got to give it to Karrion over AJ, I would say. So this is really like kind of like a coming out party to everybody on the main roster, at least, or everybody to see for Kross, and it's much deserved. And hopefully they just re-sign him. I know there's rumors about SummerSlam being like the end of his contract or whatever. So hopefully they give him the ball. He shows he can run with it.
Yeah, this needs to happen ASAP. I mean, there's been a large portion of the fan base that has for years kind of told WWE to push this guy and have been watching his YouTube stuff and his character work away from Raw and SmackDown because, well, he's never allowed to show his character on Raw and SmackDown because he's never on TV. But now we're finally seeing that promo was like hopefully going to be his coming out session of like the Austin 316 for him, like really getting his character over, getting him more time on the screen, get him in this feud with AJ Styles and do it right. Don't just keep doing backstage segments. Make this a weekly big time story. Make both these guys shine during it and make AJ Styles and make Karrion Kross look as good as humanly possible. I mean, he did the job for Logan Paul. Hopefully he'll do it for Karrion Kross too. Love the man. But it's long overdue in its time. Karrion Kross deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Judgment Day is another big thing that came out of WrestleMania. I mean, we're just going to put them together. At the end of Raw after Mania, you had Dirty Dom with the title. You had Liv and Raquel with the title. Judgment Day looked happy at the end of Raw after WrestleMania, except for that good old no good Finn Balor who is sitting there with a stink face on. Are we going to get a Judgment Day Civil War coming? And what does that even look like?
I would say I hope not. I would hope that they just kind of kick Finn out at this point. I kind of like the happy everybody. I like Liv and Raquel and Dom and Carlito and JD. But if I had to guess, I'm going to say Civil War is going to come. I think if you have to do it, I think there's going to be as much division as possible. I think you're going to get Dom and Carlito on one side and then and Liv. And then you have JD, Finn, and Raquel on the other side. I guess that maybe be the way that I would do that. And really break them up. That caused them to lose the tag titles. That would cause some issues with the IC title as well. And you really just go right down the middle. You get some mixed tags, some 3-on-3 stuff. I hope that's not the case, but I have a feeling that's going to kind of be what happens, especially if like the Rollins, Breaker, Heyman faction really takes off the way that they're wanting it to. There's usually only like one, sometimes two major factions that push, and the other ones are kind of just like left in the wayside.
Yeah, I think we're going to get the Judgment Day faction coming, or I think we're going to get the Judgment Day Civil War coming at some point. I don't think that we're going to book JD to just be 100% on Dom's side right away. I do think he's still going to be Finn's boy, and that's going to kind of be the tipping off point where we get JD siding with Finn, and maybe we do end up getting a Judgment Day member added at Finn's side, right? Finn didn't want it to happen, but now he's like, okay, he can see the tide turning into the Dom and Liv stuff, so he needs his own new member to kind of tip the scale back to him. So I could see that coming. I'm with you. If we do get Seth and Braun in a faction, I don't see Raw having two big time factions on it. And at the end of the day, the Civil War would lead to a Dom versus Finn rivalry, which would just be absolutely great for the Intercontinental title. So I think the days of the good old happy Judgment Day are here, and they're going to be over soon.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, I feel like Liv and Raquel also have to somehow play a part in this as well. And Liv and Dom are obviously going to be on one side, so Raquel's got to be on the other side. Maybe Carlito sides with Dom, and Raquel's like, well, I don't want to be on the same team as him.
Yeah,
one on the other side. Maybe that's as simple as it is.
That's fair. Becky Lynch, she turned heel. Everybody saw it coming. They waited 24 hours to pull the trigger on that one. A little bit less, probably technically, but after their lost to Liv and Raquel where they dropped the belts, Becky did turn on Lyra, but I see this as a big opportunity to really boost that Intercontinental title that has been basically useless ever since it was debuted. Here's the question though. Do you think Becky Lynch is going to, or even should, put over Lyra Valkyria? Do you think that Becky's going to do that type of job, or should we get a good old back and forth and see what Lyra's got?
I would just like Becky to take that title at this point.
Yeah.
We've given Lyra enough time to where like, hey, you haven't done anything with it. And I understand that some people may say that's the booking. Some people may say that's her fault, but she's had it for a while. And I mean, it did make the Mania card. It's kind of a joke in a sense. It's the secondary of the two women's main card titles, I would say. So give it to somebody established like Becky, especially with that heel turn coming, especially with the heat that she's going to generate. It's Becky Lynch. So you're automatically going to have the credibility attached to the IC title, especially if I wouldn't mind if she kind of joins Rollins and like the Heyman thing. I think that'd be kind of a cool, interesting dynamic. If she does something like that, then yeah, 100%. Just give her the title.
Yeah, if they are going to do the pivot and have her join the new heel faction and join her husband, real life husband, then 100% give her the IC title and let her keep it. If they are going to keep her separate, I still want her to win the title, and then I want to see what Becky's got. Then I want to see what Lyra's got, is what I mean. Like, I think Becky should win this thing ASAP. Big heel turn means reward it right away, right? We just did it with Cena. And then see what Lyra can do. She's now the underdog. She's now being given a big story for the IC title. She hasn't had a proper story in a long time. So, like, let's get her some promo work up against one of the best, big time Becks. And if Lyra does come to play, maybe down the line, you do finally have Lyra getting put over at the very end and making a new star. So I do think Becky should get it right away.
Yeah, I think she should have it right away. I guess we're on opposite views there. I think she should just keep it.
Oh,
just have somebody else.
No Lyra.
No, the women, I mean, NXT women's roster stacked. You can call somebody up. I don't care who. Somebody can come up. Somebody can
This is my brutality.
Somebody could take that spot. Yeah, with Lyra, like I understand what you mean about the underdog. That'd be a really good role for her to be in. I do wonder a little bit about the promo ability. I don't know how well that's going to translate, especially that underdog role. I wonder if she's going to be able to make it believable. But if she can do that, like I said, I have no reason to know one way or the other. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So if she can do that, then by all means.
Another person whose plans seem to be in limbo. Gunther showed up on Monday Night Raw, absolutely pissed. And did you hear about this? He attacked Pat McAfee. I don't know if you saw it in the 100 times they played it on Raw this week. What is this new Gunther storyline? He's going to be the bully that beats up commentary and just kind of everybody. Where are we going with it? And do we like this sort of story for Gunther coming out of Mania?
Yeah, so I don't really like this storyline for Gunther. I feel like it's a major step back for your world champion. You have him hold it for, I think it was 249 for the days, or it was roughly 250 days. You have him only lose to Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes on the main roster, and then he loses to Jey. That's fine. That's no big deal. But then to really not have a plan for him after, or not have a challenger after, or to not be upset and go after Jey or cut some sort of promo about it at all, it just seems a little weird. The attacking announcers seems like something maybe a mid-card heel should do. Like if a mid-card heel does it, I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, that's fine. Give Kaiser this. I don't care. Give whoever, right? But for Gunther to have this, it's a major step back. I don't like it. It has to end with Pat McAfee eventually costing Gunther. Now, if it's Pat McAfee versus Gunther and you get everybody, you get Michael Cole appearance, you get everything, that might be what they do. And that sounds terrible.
Yeah, I feel like the Jey Gunther needed a prove it match. Gunther had beaten him so many times and Jey got him at Mania, sure, but like, where's the rematch clause for Gunther, right? That we come back to that trope in WWE where you only get rematch clauses when the story calls for it, which is kind of dumb. If we are going to lean into the commentary thing, I don't really like any option other than a Wade Barrett return. That would get me interested in it. If we do get the return of a Wade Barrett or a Corey Graves even, it's rumored that he's maybe getting cleared at some point. Something like that could be really cool, but a Gunther versus Pat McAfee feud does not sound good. A Gunther versus all commentary team doesn't sound good to me. He was just one of the most prominent champions in the WWE, and then he goes from, that to facing commentators. That just doesn't feel good, but we shall see.
Yeah, even in this promo with Jey, he talks about, for 80% of my days here, I've been a champion. And you're like, oh, well, look at that. That's impressive. That's crazy when you sit there and actually think about the numbers. And then he's just going to drop it. He's going to have nothing. And then he's going to go after commentators. You're like, oh, well, no, thank you. I'd rather not, especially with something like a Backlash that's coming up, which is a couple weeks after Mania, right? It's right around the corner. You could just run the same match back. I understand people wouldn't like that, but you could just do Jey Gunther again, have a different finish, and that's that.
Yeah, it's a prove it match.
Mm-hmm.
It's a prove it match. Gunther's won like 4 times, so prove it.
3.
Whatever.
He's 3-1 now.
Speaking of Mr. Jey Uso, we'll end it here. Jey Uso did complete Yeet Mania, and we got ourselves a hell of a celebration on Monday Night Raw. He was yeeting with Big Jim and Sami Zayn. And a lot of people pointed it out that Sami Zayn was kind of hovering around Jey Uso during the celebration, but no heel turn, obviously. But that does lead us to who should be Jey's first opponent in this championship title reign, because it's obviously not going to be Gunther.
No, and I think originally we had all signed up for Braun Breaker being that first. I mean, it just kind of made sense. Like, why wouldn't you do that? But obviously he's in with the big dogs. I don't know who the first one's going to be. I think it's also important to see when the first one is, because it doesn't seem like Backlash is going to necessarily be a thing right now. I think you get a random kind of one-off feud with somebody, right? As much as I would hate it, you maybe do like a Logan Paul. You do a one-off feud, one-off match, and then Sammy turns, I think. I think you got to kind of wait and have Sammy play that, like, I'm your friend, I'm here for you role for a little while longer. And then you have Sammy turn. He came back and he talked about, this was really tough on me. This is hard on me. It was hard watching you celebrate and me not being there, that sort of thing. Also, when he celebrated, like you said, hovering, staring at the title. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just do like a one-off match of some sort with somebody, and then you get the good stuff. Maybe like it might even be a SummerSlam, Jey and Sammy build up.
Yeah, I do want Sami Zayn to be that first challenger. Do I want it to be in a heel fashion? I don't think so. I think that those two are so loved and their story goes so deep, and Sami was genuinely excited for him, and he had kayfabe reasons and real life reasons to be so excited for him. That's what makes it so awesome. That I think that you should just give Jey Uso versus Sami Zayn a face versus face championship match. Maybe at Backlash, I don't really know, but I think that'd be the natural progression of it. I think the man who's going to end up ending Jey Uso's reign of terror is going to end up being Seth Rollins down the line, because that makes sense now. But I do think that Sami Zayn should be it. Maybe he gives his brother a go. Maybe we do get some face versus face action for a little while and just kind of have Jey, basically bring the celebration to his championship matches, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he also comes out there every week, because he said he's going to be there every week, right?
Yeah.
And somebody just interrupts him, and somebody has some sort of one-off, I don't know, like a Kaiser, even though he's done nothing to deserve that. But like, yeah, sure, why not, right? I do like the aspect, though, of like a Sami versus Jey, face versus face, and then if you have Sami lose, and then maybe that's what makes Sami snap. I kind of like that idea, to your point. But I also think with Backlash being here so soon, if you're going to have him face somebody, you got to have it be somebody that's not really, like, it doesn't really mean anything, right?
Right.
Just get them on the card,
right.
Just get them to yeet, that sort of thing. And then you can go on and carry all the good stuff after that.
Completely agree. Yeet Mania will continue. I don't know for how long, though. Those were the main questions, though, coming out of WrestleMania 41 and the fallout of Raw after Mania as well. We got SmackDown coming up tomorrow, which should be really good, and we should have ourselves a good-looking picture as to what's going forward going into Backlash. But these are the main stuff. And make sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff to us. But also tune into our live stream that we do on youtube.com/@CODWrestlePods. We do Raw, SmackDown, and every PLE. So it'll be a lot of fun to have you there. Please join. And for everything else, @COD COD WrestlePod. Link tree in our bio. It's got everything there. Go ahead and give it all a follow. We appreciate it. But I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. We will see you next time.